Your library presents the new normal.
Dear Your Library, written by Cheon, read to you by Kim Haneul, translated by Kim Haneul. I sometimes go grocery shopping for my father, who has hardly left his apartment for the past 150 days since the coronavirus outbreak in January. When I visited him a few days ago, he said, "I've experienced Japanese colonialism and the Korean War, but I never thought I'd live to see something like this in my lifetime." Theoretically speaking, there could be those who have lived to experience the Spanish flu in 1918 and the COVID-19 pandemic. Still, for others, this truly is a once-in-a-lifetime catastrophe that all living and breathing beings on Earth are going through. However, don't be surprised just yet. It seems like this is only the beginning. In the 20th century, starting with the Spanish flu in 1918, other communicable diseases like the Hong Kong flu and cholera occurred approximately every 20 to 30 years. After entering the 21st century, however, taking into account the spread of SARS in 2002 to AIDS, MERS, Ebola, the Zika virus, and more, these outbreaks are happening almost every 2 to 3 years. Would you believe in a prediction that claims that once COVID-19 is successfully contained, an event like this will rarely or never happen again? These diseases may occur more often, but it will certainly not slow down. There are still ways to prevent or slow down the outbreak of new viruses. Over the last 20 years, the most notable epidemic cases in Korea include SARS, MERS, and COVID-19, all of which are known to have originated from bats. Bats may be a particularly filthy creature harboring all sorts of dangerous pathogens, but the more reasonable interpretation of the recent cases lies in biodiversity and climate change. When comparing the species diversity of mammals from temperate and tropical climates, there is hardly any difference when bats are excluded. When bats are included in the comparison, the proportion is overwhelmingly higher in tropical areas because bats live together in those regions. However, with global warming, these bats are spreading out to temperate regions. As a result, their physical proximity to the many humans residing in temperate zones is gradually increasing. That doesn't mean that we are visiting bat caves day in, day out, coming in contact with those creatures, nor does it mean that bats come lurking into our bedrooms at night, delivering unwanted viruses while we're asleep. When we are paving roads and cutting down trees right up to their habitats and disrupting the livelihoods of animals in those areas, the viruses that live on the species are brushed upon the human body. That is the very simple start of a pandemic. SARS, MERS, and the novel coronavirus were proven to be spread from bats to civets, camels, and pangolins, eventually making its way to humans. If we had not interfered with these wild animals in the first place, the pandemic we see today would not have even started. Yet, it is impossible for us to not affect nature, since most of the resources we need today come from nature itself. Nonetheless, there are ways to extract supplies we need from the environment with respect. I hope we all learn from this pandemic that we need to change our approach towards nature. I believe that all humans should be treated with the eco-vaccine. That way, we will peacefully coexist with nature, benefiting from its resources while avoiding diseases. For a very long time, Jane Goodall, Edward Wilson, David Attenborough, and many other environmentalists have called our attention to this very point, that it is ultimately much more advantageous to protect the environment. However, people today have come to the point where they are so immersed in the logic of the market economy that we've had economists create fields like environmental economics or ecological economics, converting nature into an object with a dollar value. They have even come up with calculations of how preserving mudflats have more monetary value than developing those areas. Nothing was of use. With climate change becoming more severe by the day, arguments that it is closer to a climate crisis are on the rise, and biodiversity is collapsing all over the world. However, the experience of COVID-19 changed something. Ordinary people are sparking a new discourse. I often hear people saying things like the following: if a pandemic repeatedly happens, what's the point in achieving more economic growth? And if a horrible disaster is going to hit the world every few years, it must be more beneficial to meddle less with the environment. Perhaps the message that we tried so hard to spread is being sent out by a virus that we can't even fathom with our own eyes. It's ironic, but I still seek the sprout of hope in the midst of these difficult times. It is up to us to make the world of COVID-19 truly into a world of humanity. From Professor Cheon, Chair Professor of Ewha Women's University, Division of Ecoscience, President of the Biodiversity Foundation.